Hi, I'm St.Yves and I'm the founder of Quantum Transformations, and I speak to you with messages from the soul. And why do I call it this? Because I speak to you with integrity, I come from the heart, and I'm here to connect my heart with your heart. And it's in the seat of the heart that we actually feel the truth of what it is that we're experiencing, what we're hearing. The heart always knows the truth. So I work with heart, I work with my clients' hearts. And why is this so important? Well, back in 2006, I was 46 at the time, my 46th birthday in fact, and I had been in a very difficult relationship, and I was conscious I was in this difficult relationship, but chose to remain for various reasons. I had been in deep depression and despair for many years, to the extent where my children had gone to live with their father, so I had lost them. I was working as a psychology lecturer. I ran stress reduction workshops, etc., and so forth. Yet my own private life was a bit of a shambles, to say the least, and every morning I woke up and I wished that I hadn't woken up. Until my 46th birthday, I had a heart attack, and this was triggered by circumstances that had happened that morning. I was in a meeting at the time, and I was heading that meeting for my group. I was a coordinator in where I was working at the time, and I felt this pain in my chest, an immediate toothache, and I had no idea what it was. I carried on the meeting, finished up in about 5 minutes, went to the nurse and said a strange thing has happened. I had pain in my chest and my tooth is hurting, and I had raging toothache, and she panicked and said, well, you've just had a heart attack and I can't believe you carried on your meeting. And I ended up in hospital, of course, on monitors, and it turned out I had a myocardial infarction, which is a mild heart attack. And this was a huge wake-up call for me. My heart was telling me, it was a message. Now, it is said that the seat of the soul is in the heart, and all I can say is that my heart was broken, literally, and it was sending out a message to me that I could no longer live life in the way I was living it, and it was doing me no good. Probably wasn't doing my partner any good at the time. And so I left. 11 days later, on the 23rd of July, I ended up here in Indonesia. I had a position. The universe conspired, I do believe, to match everything from my position ending as a lecturer. I'd already given that position up, not knowing entirely what I was going on to. I knew the job in Jakarta was for me, and I left. I went to Indonesia, packed a suitcase, and that's all I had. It was the best thing I ever did. It changed my life. What I want to say is, the reason I tell you this story is because it's my experience, and it's how I know, it's how I work so well with people, with clients. It's how I have the understanding that I do. Above this also, I work as an intuitive, psychic, some people call that. I work as an energy worker. I channel in higher consciousness. I'm able to enter into and work with the quantum field. And yes, I mean the quantum field that's talked about in quantum physics. And by so doing, I effect transformation for others. Yes, I don't do this on my own. Of course, I do it with the universal force, and I do this with my higher self, with my soul. And so I say these are messages from the soul. We feel sometimes that we are helpless to effect change. The truth is, we're not helpless to effect change, and we're being given constant messages through our lives, whether it's in relationship, through our bank account, whether it's to do with our job, whether it's sickness, the body, mind, spirit. there's all message saying stop or carry on. If we are getting negative messages, and by negative, what I mean is if we're getting messages that are making us feel uncomfortable, or that are actually indicating that we're on the wrong path, it's a good idea to listen to them. For me, I could have listened to the message years ago, long before I had the heart attack. I was well aware that I was in a relationship that was not beneficial. My heart was broken through depression and through the loss of my children at that time, and with a lot of self-blame, self-judgment regarding my mothering skills, regarding my mental and emotional stability. And I was a workaholic. I became a workaholic so I could avoid everything, because when I was on my own, if I wasn't working, I was sad, I was in despair, I wanted to die. So I know what it's like. I'm not speaking from this point of I can manifest everything, and I've come from this perfect life and everything is just hunky-dory, effortless. That's not how it is. I speak from a point of knowing how it has been for me, and how it is for my clients and my students who've walked through my door and who've also affected changes. And this, of course, can only happen because they are open to that kind of change themselves. They're ready. So after I had my heart attack, I was ready. I was primed. Everything had already disintegrated. There was very little left to do except to take a new path. And I did. And I know others who have done the same. And yes, it's scary. It's not always the easiest thing to do, because change is scary. And the ego, and I talk about the ego not in a negative way, the ego doesn't like change. It doesn't like change because it's unsafe as far as the ego is concerned. And the ego's job is to keep us safe. So the ego keeps us in this little box. And in this little box is a limited amount of experience that we can have out of this little box. And for me, I want to experience all that I can experience. I still have tendency towards depression on occasion. Unfortunately, it's learned behavior to an extent, and I have shifted a lot of that. But I can be, on occasion, a reactive depressive. So I have to work on it, really, to not get depressed. So if something major in my life happens, I have the spiritual knowledge, I have the spiritual teachings, I have the actual experience of how it can be, how life can be if you decide to change it. However, my system on occasion reverts back to the depressive state. Oh God, this has happened, and life is terrible, and why again has this happened, and I do all of this work for other people, and blah 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 is what my ego says, and down I go. What I can say is that I don't go so far anymore, and what I can say is that it doesn't last as long as it used to. So there's shorter periods, and longer periods of life that is more settled, the peaceful. My heart needs peace now. That's also the other message I received from that. I'm unable, really literally physically unable to live with a lot of stress in my life. So the message for me is to stay peaceful, and so that's what I do as much as possible, because life does happen sometimes and it's not always peaceful, but it is certainly more peaceful than it was in the past, and how I deal with it is more peaceful. And it's also easy. I know, my students and my clients often say to me, well, it's easy for you. You see lights around people, and you're in touch with your spirit guides, and you channel higher consciousness. Well, what I do is not unique to me. This is the birthright of every human being, to channel higher consciousness. They are higher consciousness. The message from the soul, the voice of the soul, is held in the heart, and that is higher consciousness. This is not something that's outside of ourselves. as such. It's who we are at the deepest core of our beings. Once we clear the residue of the social conditioning that doesn't work for us, the belief systems that have been downloaded or implanted into us from birth, whether that's from parents, schooling, peers, nowadays media as well. Everything has a message in it saying you should be this or you should be that, and if you're not, then there's something wrong. So once we start to clear these limiting belief systems, it's actually possible to live a life that is more in flow with who you are. And it's scary, yes, to begin with. That is the truth. It is, it disturbs the ego, let's put it that way. The ego says, no, don't go that way, don't do that, because it's not safe, you don't know how to do that. And the ego voice can be stilled. It doesn't ever go away, but it can be stilled as we learn to enter more and more into the flow. We can actually quiet the ego, and we can connect more with the heart, the voice of the soul. And by doing that, life begins to flow more easily. And if you ask my friends, those people who actually know me, they will tell you that a few years ago I would be saying, well, you know, it isn't natural to go with the flow because, you know, salmon swim upstream, and anyone who is anybody doesn't go with the flow of everybody else and what's happening. So for me, I was a bit blocked regarding going with the flow. But when I say now going with the flow, it's not about following the flow of trends or as I say, the social conditioning. It's actually about allowing the self to go with the flow of the heart, to go with the flow of the voice of the soul, to go with the flow of what's happening. If you're bumping into things, I have days, for instance, where I'm scattered, I'm busy, I'm seeing clients, I'm teaching, I have emails to get out, and trying to do my website, or I need to go out shopping, whatever it is. I have days like that, as everybody does, and I might start bumping into things or trip over things. It's a message. That is a simple message. How about slowing down before you actually fall over and break your leg, and we give you a bigger message, or have a heart attack. So all of this is message, and once we start learning to read the message, we actually begin to enter into the flow of our own rhythm, into the flow of the rhythm of the soul, and our purpose naturally comes. It's not that we have to go searching. It's naturally there for us. It's who we already are. And this is quite interesting to me because many people come and they say, I'm lost. I know certainly when I was in deep depression, I was functioning on an everyday level. I was lecturing in psychology, I was an examiner, I was doing stress workshops. At one point, I was a semi-professional singer for over 10 years. So I still carried on doing that on occasion just to get the emotions out. But I was busy. There's a message there. Stop. Yeah, I didn't take the message till that happened. But nowadays, what I'm saying is, if I feel disturbed in my heart, I know there's a message there. Stop going in this direction. It's really that simple. And I know we all have these messages. We have these messages through our relationships, the people that we know. We have these messages in our bank balance. Do we have money to spare? Do we not have money to spare? We have messages, obviously, in the physical body that manifests what is happening for us. And if we're not feeling the changes that we need to make, then quite often the physical body will manifest that. Common symptoms, for instance, backache, shoulder ache, headache, All of these things are stress-related symptoms. So the body then gives us a message, but it's possible to get the message before going so far. And this is now what I teach. And this is how I not only teach, I do the clearings and energetic clearings for people. And you can go onto my website and actually have a look at testimonials from clients of mine who have made huge shifts in their life in a small amount of time, just by applying the principles that they have learned. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. I would love to meet you. I love my work, and I love the people who come. They're amazing, and it's really the work that I do, the people that I meet, have restored my faith in humanity, because what I realize is we are all souls on a journey who are doing the best that we can in the moment with what we've got, with what we know. And I want to help others, enable others to do better, but not better in a way that is they must work harder, they must, delve into the deepest recesses of their minds and their souls. I mean better in terms of more effortless, better in terms of more flow, better in terms of being more gentle on the self, better in the forgiveness of other, the forgiveness of self. That's what I mean. To live better is not to push, it's to enter the flow and allow what happens to happen. And it does in the most amazing ways. As I say, a few years ago, if somebody had said this to me, I would have said, you're crazy, because I'm getting there, I do it, I'm an action person. And I don't believe that it's possible. Yet, I learned through my channel, Isaac. Isaac is a higher consciousness channel, very wise, thank God, because more wisdom than I've got. But through that, not to look in the direction I don't want to go, stop standing in front of myself with that. What they're saying is, if you only hold your own beliefs, if you only see your own perception in front of your face, then what actually happens is that is all you see in the world. Whereas if you step out of the way, this whole panorama, this whole vista opens up, what I call the field of all possibility. And it is effortless. Yes, there's stuff goes on. This is called life. And certainly it could be smoother sometimes. But I can say that as you make these transformations, as you make the choice to enter into this field of all possibility, as you make the choice to transform the limitations into this more expanded state of being, what will happen is that things come quicker, things become less stressful. And sometimes we have to release the things we don't want to release, but certainly I believe my soul knows better than my ego self, and I know that I've got a very good mind. I was a lecturer in psychology. I was intellectual. I still can be a bit boringly intellectual, really. And it's not the mind that has brought this experience to me. It's the mind that has become more settled now that it has the experience. So I do look forward to meeting you. I look forward to working with you. It really is my greatest pleasure to teach what I've learned to others through experience, not through theory. And yes, let's say hello sometime. Thanks for listening.